Hi there, and welcome to Cait Casts On. If you're new here, my name is Caitlin, and I'm a knitter, spinner, sewist, and sometimes quilter based out of the Pacific Northwest. I have just a standard podcast episode for you today with some really exciting updates, so grab your craft of choice, settle in, and let's get started. Hi there! It has been a few kind of weird weeks here on the channel between the end of year content and the beginning of year goals that I wanted to share with you. It's been a little bit more than a month since I filmed my last podcast episode. So I'm excited to sit down and just kind of have a normal, standard little episode to share with you guys today. Just a heads up, I am going to share some of the projects that I finished in 2025, just in case those Everything I Knit videos aren't your thing. I did just kind of want to quickly go over them, but I'll move through them pretty rapidly. You can always hear more about them in my Everything I Knit in 2025 video, or you can just leave a comment down below or check out my Ravelry if you have more questions or curiosities about them. Otherwise, I do have some new projects to share with you and some really cool updates, so I'm excited to dive in. Before we dive into finished objects, I am wearing my Louvre sweater, which is a pattern by Petite Knit. I knit this up just a few months ago, I think in November, December timeframe. And it is just like the comfiest, coziest sweater I own. It's one that I'm constantly pulling for. I knit this up using 2 strands of Coast to Coast Yarn Co.'s Shanico tweed fingering in the color Button. And it is just like a really classic cream colored tweed. I really, really love it. It goes with a lot of different things and is really easy to style. The Shanico yarn is also so comfortable. I just love wearing this sweater. So let's go ahead and dive right into finished objects. The first few, like I said, will be from 2025, but I'll just kind of move through them pretty quickly. The first one is my Jacob sweater. This is a self-drafted pattern that I created for my husband, and I knit this up using Cascade Heritage in the color Charcoal. And I also used US 3 or 3.25 millimeter needles. It's just a really simple stockinette sweater, has set-in sleeves with some short row shaping, and just some nice 2x2 rib details. And yeah, I would say this was a huge success of a sweater. My goal was to finish it for him to open up on Christmas morning. He knew it was coming. It was not a surprise. But unfortunately, I did not quite meet that goal. I kind of did, kind of didn't. I started experiencing some pain in the last few days of this project. And on top of that, I needed to rip back and kind of redo the sleeves a little bit as well. And so with those things combined, I just decided like 3 or 4 days before Christmas that, just tell yourself it's not going to happen and it's okay. My husband was totally understanding and didn't want me to hurt myself. So I just backed off quite a bit. And I still ended up finishing, I think, right before we went to bed on Christmas Eve. So technically it was done for Christmas morning. It just didn't get wrapped, and it also wasn't blocked or anything like that. So not quite ready to wear, but pretty close. We ended up blocking it on Christmas Day, and he was able to wear it to a holiday party the next day. So it worked out well. He's worn it to work a few times. He really likes the feel of it. It feels really soft on his skin. He has, I would describe, very sensitive skin. So the superwash merino nylon combo, I think, is working out well for him. It doesn't bother him at all. I do have some concerns about how this might pill over time, but we're just gonna find out and see. I want him to wear it. I want him to treat it like a normal object. Obviously, when we wash it, I will take care of it and like be gentle with it, but I want him to wear it like he would pretty much any other garment, and we can always, make some adjustments in how I knit future garments for him moving forward if need be. But if this thing stands up and is nice and durable, I can definitely see myself knitting more versions of this sweater for him in different colors. I went and was very detailed in my notes and essentially wrote out an entire pattern for him. So this would be really easy to make another 2 or 3 if he wanted. Another finished object from 2025 that was actually also a Christmas present for my husband is a pair of sailor slippers. These did get done in time and were waiting for him under the tree. I knit these up using the recommended yarn, which is Drops Snow, and just used a really nice tonal green combination. There's like a sage green is technically the main color. And then I use this like forest green as the contrast color, the soul color, and also the eye cord. And I think they turned out really well. I think these could probably use another run in the wash to felt up just a smidge more. I think my sailor slippers could as well. I just haven't gotten around to doing it because I know they take a few days to dry and we've been wearing them pretty much every day. So I should probably prioritize and get that done just so that they fit even better. But really happy with the finished product. They're really comfortable. They're really warm. And we've been wearing them, like I said, pretty much every single day. So they've been a real nice knit to have in our closets. And then the last thing that I finished in 2025 was this really lovely little pair of socks. I did just a really basic waffle stitch pattern for these guys, which is 2 rounds of stockinette and then 2 rounds of 2x2 rib. And it just creates this nice little texture here that I really enjoy. I think it's beautiful, and it also like helps the sock better form to your foot in a really practical way. So I really enjoyed knitting these up. I'll definitely be making more pairs of this. I used Red Door Fiber Studios Bounce Sock in the color Price of Dreams for these, and I just think it's so pretty. It's like basically a burgundy red, but it just has this slight pull towards more of a terracotta orange that adds a nice warmth to it. And I just think that the color is really pretty. And I think it matches a lot of my knits really nicely as a nice little contrast on my feet. They have gotten quite a bit of wear. I would say of all the socks I've ever knit, this is the best fitting pair that I've ever made. I feel like I really perfected my custom sock fit in this one. I do a little bit of a shorter heel flap and gusset. I reduce the number of stitches on my foot compared to my ankle. And I just feel like the length and like the toe was just really perfect on these. So I'm really happy with them. I hope that, you know, they don't grow out too much over time. I don't think they will. Based on past experience, and also just the fact that it is a little bit of a ribbed texture. I think that will help too. So really thrilled with these socks. I've worn them 6 or 7 times already. They've gotten a lot of love. So yeah, just very happy with these and excited to build up more socks in my wardrobe this year. Okay, so that is everything that I finished in 2025 that you would have already seen if you watched that video. I do have one more knitted finished object to share, and that is a really beautiful pair of Songbird Mittens. This is a pattern by Erica Huser, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. And I knit this up using Bishi Bouche Le Petit Lamb's wool. My main color here is burgundy gray, and then the contrast lighter color is rose gray. So pretty. I originally bought the Bishi Bouche specifically just to like try it out. I just got 1 skein of each color. I was just curious about the yarn. I had read some things about it and just wanted to try it out for myself. And I was originally thinking, you know, maybe I'll just like swatch with it. I didn't really have a project in mind. But when I got the yarn in the mail, I was just taken aback by how beautiful it was in person. And I decided I wanted to make some Songbird Mittens with them. So I'm really pleased. This was my first time doing small circumference color work. So that was quite interesting. But I think overall, I'm quite pleased with how they turned out. I think there's definitely some areas where I can improve, specifically on the thumb here. I think there's some slight tension issues that could be improved upon with practice, but that's okay. It's a mitten, it's a thumb. I'm not worried about it. They fit really nicely. The one tricky thing with these is my wedding ring gets caught on some of the floats on my left hand when I'm putting them on, so I have to be careful about that. I was pretty mindful about my floats going into this and actually ended up catching floats, I want to say every like 3 to 4 stitches instead of my typical 5. So I was very mindful that my ring would catch and like fingers would catch. And it's possible to get in there. I just have to be a little bit more careful. But I just think they're so cute. I'm really pleased with how these came out. But I came out of this project really thrilled with, you know, figuring out small circumference color work. And also really in love with this yarn. So much so that I actually went ahead and ordered a sweater quantity for a really exciting future project that I will share with you in a few minutes. But I am just truly in love with this yarn and I'm really excited to use it in more things this year. like I said, this was my first time doing small circumference color work. I've never done color work on socks or mittens or even hats now that I'm thinking about it. It's only been in sweater form, I'm pretty sure, other than swatches, I guess. So it was definitely kind of a learning curve. I think the pattern was written for magic loop and DPNs, if I remember correctly, and I ended up knitting as much of this as I could on my 9-inch circulars. So I cast on 9-inch circulars and was pretty much able to keep going on them up until like the last half inch or so, maybe the last inch. Shortly after starting decreases for the tip of the hand, I needed to go to DPNs. And that was fine. I really didn't mind the process of doing color work on the 9-inch circulars. 9-inch circulars are my preferred method for knitting socks and things like that. It's definitely something that you have to get used to, but I actually, once I figured out how to place my hands and stuff, I really enjoy working with 9-inch circulars. So yeah, that really was nice, being able to knit on that circumference. I just feel like it's a lot more seamless and easy to keep going than I feel like DPNs or magic loop is. And so yeah, that was nice. I felt like I made a lot of progress. And then when I switched to DPNs, I think the hand tension is actually pretty good, all things considered. But yeah, using DPNs on the thumb is where I ran into some issues, specifically on this side of the thumb where you have quite long runs. I think there's a run of like 11 stitches in one color. And so that was kind of tricky on DPNs, even though I was catching my floats quite frequently. On this side where there is much shorter motifs, I feel like the tension is just as good as it is on my 9-inch. So yeah, just something to keep in mind and maybe work on moving forward, but I'm not sure how many mittens I will make like this in the future, so that's okay. That's all my knitting finished objects, but I do have some spins to share. This one is one that I did also finish in 2025, but has not seen a long form video on YouTube yet. This is a beautiful skein of yarn using fiber from Wonderland Dye Works. It is the color Leaf Collecting, and it is on merino and a silk combination fiber. I spun this up on my EEW 6.1. It took me quite some time. The braid of fiber was actually 5 ounces instead of 4, so that's part of the reason why it took so long. I was just trying to spin thin. I really wasn't thinking too much about it. I wanted to do a fractal and I wanted to spin thin, and so that's what I did. This is a 1/4 fractal if you're curious. But yeah, it was taking me so long, and I was like, wow, like, why am I so slow? It felt drastically longer than all of my other projects, and it didn't really feel like I was spinning that much thinner. Like, sure, it was probably my thinnest yarn, but I didn't think it was like drastically thinner than all my other yarns. Coming to finish this yarn and then take the measurements, I was shocked with my stats for it. It weighs 139 grams or 4.9 ounces. So I lost just a little bit in the spinning process, which is normal. And I needed to double check to make sure I was counting right, but I'm pretty sure that I have approximately 958 yards in this skein, which is like a true lace weight. Like that is straight up lace. There's no denying that. Which I am stunned by. It wasn't necessarily my intention going in to make a lace weight. I just wanted to spin thin, but that's what we came out with. And I am so proud of this yarn. It makes sense why it took me so long to spin now. And it is just so beautiful. I'm really not sure what I want to knit with this yet. Because it has silk in it, I feel like doing something quite drapey, like a shawl or something would be beautiful. But it's lace weight and I have only, 1,000 yards. A little bit less than 1,000 yards, I guess. So I'm not sure what can be done with that. If you have any pattern recommendations or anything that you think I should knit up with this, definitely let me know. But yeah, wow. I'm really, really proud of this yarn. If you have been watching me for a few months, you know that I pretty much only have like one finished skein per episode of spun yarn. It's just, I kind of work at a little bit of a slower pace, I feel like, than some people with my spinning. However, I made a really, really exciting purchase last week, and I have some results to show because of it. So I took a trip down to Eugene, Oregon, which is a little bit more than an hour away from me from where I live, to go to Eugene Textile Center. This was a newfound place for me. I hadn't really heard of them before a few months ago. But wow, what a gold mine. They are an incredible store. They have just like really unique and niche equipment that I feel like is pretty rare to have, like a store that carries all of that. And then also just to have that so close to me, I just feel incredibly lucky. But they specialize in carrying looms and like weaving material and spinning wheels. So I was able to go in person with my husband and my sister and try out some spinning wheels. I had a few in mind that I was really interested in, getting a feel for. One was the Kromsky Sonata Encore. I was also interested, they have used spinning wheels that they sell on consignment. And there was a used Schacht Matchless from 2007 that I was really interested in trying. It was at a really good price. And then, just doing some research, I thought, okay, let's throw in a Schacht Ladybug. If they have one, I'll sit down at that too. I felt like 3 models just to kind of try out and get a vibe for was a good idea. And I sat in the store, I think, for like an hour and a half. Ashley, who works there, shout out to her. She was incredible at helping answer my questions, kind of guide me through, the differences between the wheels. She was so patient, so kind, so helpful. But yeah, much to my surprise, I kind of went in assuming that it was going to be the used Matchless or the Kromsky Sonata. Much to my surprise, I came home with a Schacht Ladybug. I am so thrilled with this purchase. I'm actually just renting the wheel for now. They have a really great program where you can try out a wheel for up to 3 months. And then if you decide you want to purchase it at the end of that, your rental fees go towards the final purchase price of the wheel, which is really great. So I'm just really grateful to have had a place where I can go and sit down and try out some spinning wheels and just get a feel for things, because I think as someone who had only spun on an e-spinner prior to this, there were just things that I never even thought to consider until I sat down at a wheel. There were things that I was aware of, like whirls and drive ratios. That was something I was very much paying attention to, and why I was leaning towards the Sonata, actually. Like collapsibility, like how it stores, things like that. I was paying attention to all of those factors. It never really occurred to me to consider things like the shape of the treadles, how far apart they are, how high up they go when you pedal, things like that. It just didn't really click for me that it was even a factor and that things could be different until I was sitting at a wheel. So I'm really grateful that I was able to sit down and try those things out. So I have done more spinning in the last week on my Ladybug than I have in a really long time. So I have 2 skeins or 12 ounces of fiber to share with you. The first skein is 8 ounces or 200 grams of fiber, and it's a combo spin. So 50% of this, 1 ply, is from Red Door Fiber Studio, and it's the color Wasteland Baby. Which is on 100% Australian merino. And it is just like a really lovely teal color. That's kind of the more consistent tonal ply in this, and bring some of that teal in. I got that braid at Flock. Stunning. Was really obsessed with it and just didn't totally know what I wanted to do with it. But then I found out that at a yarn store somewhat local to me, Naughty Lamb, placed a wholesale order with Lauren from Little Fiber Co. And they had this really beautiful color called Dark and Stormy that I got really excited about and thought would pair really well with this. So that is the other ply, is the Dark and Stormy from Little Fiber Co. And it has more like purples and like navies in it. So it kind of is just a really nice blend of both of those braids. I feel like they came together really well. I'm thrilled with this, and this is going to be yarn that I use for a jaunty shawl to participate in the jaunty spin along that Andrea Mowry is hosting. So I'm really excited to get that cast on soon. I'm also quite proud of myself because I'm sticking to my 2026 goal of wanting to be better at documenting the fiber that I spin. I kind of got a little bit ahead of myself on this one, and I forgot to take a picture of the braid before I started spinning. So I had to like grab a screenshot from a past video. But I'm doing better at documenting like what the the grist is, what the WPI is, all of that stuff, but also taking pictures of the braids, of the plies, and then of the finished yarn. So all of that is in my Ravelry for this yarn if you're curious. And yeah, unfortunately, I did forget to take a picture of the braids before I started spinning, but I kind of like have little screenshots from websites where I bought them or like my video. So maybe you can get a sense of it. But really happy with this and very excited to see how it knits up. So I was like obsessed with spinning at that point and was not ready to stop. So I went ahead and picked out another braid that I had in stash from Little Fiber Co. This is I Can Buy Myself Flowers, and this is on 100% American Rambouillet. So beautiful. And honestly, not at all what I was expecting from the braid of fiber, but like once it started spinning up, it made sense. This one, I did remember to take a picture of the braid before I started spinning it. So in my Ravelry, I have a picture of like the unfurled, like I unwrapped the braid and like made it into a spiral. And then I have a picture of each of the plies and then the finished yarn. So this is just like a really simple 2-ply 1/4 fractal spin that I did, just to kind of see how it would come out. And it was really, really interesting to see things come together. I'm really happy that I started taking those photos because I feel like it's going to help me get a much better sense of how a braid can turn into finished yarn and like how those colors will translate. So I'm quite excited about that. This reminds me so much in person of like a seashell and how it can kind of look quite white and pale from far away, but when you get up close, there are just all of these colors and really interesting combinations of colors. I don't know how well it's going to come across, but there's quite a bit of like peach and lavender and blue. Oh, it's just so pretty. So yeah, I'm happy with this yarn too. I'm just really excited that the spinning wheel has kind of reignited this love for me, and it's really all I want to do right now is spin. So I'm excited to be going through some of the fiber in my stash a little bit faster and to be able to try these things out. Which leads me to today's sponsor, Craftsy. Craftsy is your online resource for all things creative. Members can find more than 2,000 classes to help them learn new skills and build confidence. With over 20 categories of classes, you can learn about everything from knitting and crochet to quilting, sewing, painting, drawing, cooking, baking, and even cake decorating. I have personally used Craftsy classes in the past to help me learn how to spin and quilt, and found that the step-by-step demonstrations and the resources inside the classes were so helpful and practical. Truly changed the game for me in terms of my skill building and confidence. With my 2026 goal in mind and my new spinning wheel, I'm going to be taking the class from JC Boggs Faulkner called Drafting from Worsted to Woolen, and I am so excited. I know it's going to make me feel so much more empowered to learn this new skill and to meet my goal. If you're coming into this year wanting to learn new knitting techniques, whether that's color work, lace, cables, brioche, or even designing your own patterns, Craftsy has classes on all of those topics. If you're wanting to try Craftsy for yourself, the first 1,000 people watching this video to click the link in my description will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. So that's all I have to share for finished objects today. Let's go ahead and get into works in progress. The first one that I have to share with you is my Cove sweater. This is a pattern by the Knit Pearl Girl, and I'm knitting it up using 2 strands of Knitting for Olive Merino. I'm using the color Pomegranate right here, and holding it together with the color Robin. So they give just a nice subtle marl together that I really enjoy the look of. I am really, really happy with how this is coming out. I have completely finished the body and I have started the ribbing on my first sleeve there. This is the second Cove sweater that I have knit. I also knit one, I think in August of last year, and I've actually pulled it out so that you can see. I also knit this up using 2 strands of Knitting for Olive Merino. I believe the colors were Blue Jeans and Blue Tit. So I'm following the same concept here with my red version. I really love the way this feels and fits, and so I just kind of wanted one in a different color combination. That being said, I am making some modifications from how I did this one. The most obvious change that I'm making is to the collar. This one has a double folded collar as well, but it's only like an inch deep before it folds. And just over time, I found that this has really grown out and just kind of opened up a little bit more than maybe I wanted it to. So for this version, I basically added an inch to that. So it's about 2 inches before it folds over. And I'm hoping that once this blocks out, and just like as it grows with wear, that it will stay somewhat tighter on my neck than the blue version has. So that's the goal there. I also changed another detail, which is that the pattern has decorative decreases on the top of the sleeve at the very end. In the blue version, I kind of omitted that detail and just moved them to the underarm where they would normally happen. And on this one, I decided I wanted them on top like the pattern states. So maybe you can see there's a lot of light bulb stitch markers happening. But at the very tail end on the top of the sleeve, there are some decorative decreases that happen before the ribbing. So I went ahead and moved them to the intended spot on top on this version. And yeah, it's just like a little bit of a different look, and I'm excited to have that in this one. Because I already knit the blue one, I really like, generally speaking, how it fits. And like I know my gauge and stuff. I actually went ahead and dove right into this sweater. I did not do a gauge swatch, which is very odd for me. And I'm also going to go ahead and skip a mid-project block on this one. Normally I do mid-project block on all of my garments. I feel pretty passionately about that, but I know that the yarn is going to behave in the same way as my blue one. So I actually ended up just counting the number of rows that I had in my body and just knitting this to those specifications, the same length as the blue one. Like I said, I made the change to the collar, but I think it's going to act pretty predictably, so I'm not too worried about it. And then my sleeves, I am knitting almost the same as the blue one. I decided I wanted to, like I said, do the decorative decreases on top. And because of that, I decided I also wanted to add like 2 rows to the sleeve, just to give the decorative decreases a little bit more space to like show off. In the blue version, I kind of had to shorten the arm a little bit from the pattern. And so this one, it's still technically slightly shorter than in pattern, but it's a little bit longer, just to give the decorative decreases a little bit more of an opportunity to shine. But other than that, I'm pretty much knitting them the same, and I'm just going to go ahead and block it at the end. I don't think that there's going to be any major surprises in this one. And if there is, I'll deal with it when it comes up. I will have deserved it. But overall, I'm not too worried about it at all. I'm really excited to have a sweater in this color. It's quite different from any of the other sweaters that I own. It's a little bit more of a bold color. So I'm really happy with it. I think it's going to add a nice little change to my wardrobe, and it's been really fun to knit up on these like cold winter days. My next work in progress is one that you have not seen yet, and that is my Olga sweater. This is a pattern by Petite Knit, and I am using a few really beautiful yarns for this one. My main color, this green, is Coast to Coast Shanico Fingering in the color Red Herring. This is from their Book Tropes collection that they did last year, and I'm holding it double to meet gauge. And then my contrast color is Fiber MacGyver Shanico Fingering in the color Pearl. I'm also holding this double. I decided to go ahead and order the fingering weight yarn of both of these and hold it double because that got me closer to the recommended yarns gauge than just like buying a DK or a worsted yarn did. And I think it's working out really well. I'm really pleased with how this is coming out. It's quite structured, and it feels like substantial, and I think it's going to be really nice. There's not like a ton of drape in this garment, which I think suits it really well. I'm really happy with the color combination. Again, it's quite different from anything else I have in my closet, and it's just been like a nice fun pop of color. So it's been really, really fun. I also did not swatch for this sweater, which is very unlike me. But I just felt really confident going into it because I just knit my loop sweater, which also holds the Shanico Fingering double, and the gauge is really, really similar. And so I thought I would be close enough that I would just start with the back panel and like mark off what the gauge swatch should be. I'm realizing now it's kind of hard to see on camera, but I have some light bulb stitch markers. There's one here, and there's one here, and there's one there. So I have like the row and stitch count marked off on the back panel, and that I looked at like as soon as I finished knitting the amount of stitches and rows, and basically just used the back panel as a gauge swatch. And I'm very close to gauge, and based on how this sweater blocked, it really didn't grow much. And even like the sleeves grew a little bit, but then they ended up shrinking back down basically to what they were before I blocked it. So I'm really not too worried about this yarn. I think it's really close to gauge right now. It might grow a little bit in blocking, but it probably will spring back quite a bit too. So I felt like this was good enough. Maybe I will regret that decision, and if I do, it's my own fault and I'll deal with the consequences then. I am going to do a mid-project block. I'm not going to bind anything off. So we'll find out soon. But yeah, I just decided to go ahead and dive in on this one. We'll see if I pay for that later. Let's see. I've knit this 2 pattern, except for one very small modification that I made, which is to the collar. I added this really cute little welt before I started the ribbing that I just think is adorable. I've had this in mind for quite some time because I follow Sophia from Sophia Knits Things on Instagram, and she shared her Olga sweater that has this little welt here and even a tutorial on how she did it. I will leave that linked in the description below if you're curious. But I just thought it was such a cute detail, and I feel like it fits this sweater design really well. So I wanted to give it a try. And I'm quite happy that I did. Because of the welt, my depth of my collar is a little bit thicker than stated in pattern. Basically, I did the welt and then I did the number of rows stated in pattern for the top half. And then on the inside, I, did my turn the way it's stated in pattern. I knit the number of rows it says, and then I think I added 2 rows on top of that just to account for the height that the welt gave it, so that when I knitted things together and it like folded down, that it wasn't curling in too much on itself. But otherwise, this has been totally knit to pattern, and it's coming out really well. I'm very happy with it. Knitting with the Shanico is a lot of fun. I'm really excited to see what this looks like blocked and just complete. But I am going to go ahead and do a mid-project block, like I said. So I have joined in the round, and I'm probably like, 4 or 5 inches into the round. I think I'll go for a little bit longer, another inch or 2, nothing too drastic. And then I'm going to go ahead and knit most of my first sleeve, maybe get down to like mid forearm. And then I will go ahead and do a mid-project block, see how it grows, see how it behaves. At that point, it would be really easy to rip back and make any changes because nothing will be bound off. And yeah, go from there. But I think I'll be good. I hope. My last work in progress is spinning, and that is some progress that I have made on some fiber for a sweater spin I'm working on. If you've watched my videos before, you've probably heard that I am doing a hand-spun stripe hype sweater by Kudovakika, and I have started spinning up my main color for this. I am using Yarn Jam's Confetti Tweed fiber in the color Bear for my main color for the sweater, and it's just a really nice natural white color with these really fun colored speckles. It's been a lot of fun to see like how it spins up. So I have finished 1 braid of this, and I have gotten started on my 2nd braid. I have 4 total that I need to go through. And the biggest bummer for me is that I'm spinning this up on my e-spinner for the main color. There's nothing wrong with my e-spinner. I just really want to spin on my spinning wheel now that I have it. But I am sitting down at the e-spinner to do this still just because I can do some bigger bobbins on that. I don't have the jumbo flyer or bobbins for my Ladybug. I don't know if that makes sense to invest in at this point when my e-spinner can do it just fine. So the plan is to spin up the first 3 braids on 3 bobbins, and then take my 4th braid, kind of divide it in 3 roughly, and then add on to my existing 3 bobbins for singles, and then ply it together to make a 3-ply yarn. I think I can do all my contrast colors on my Ladybug, hopefully. So I think I'll probably feel a little bit more motivated to make more progress on those just because I'm feeling so excited about it. So yeah, I just need to sit down at my e-spinner and make more progress on this so that then I can move back to my Ladybug and feel good about spinning some braids there. Those are all my works in progress. Now let's go ahead and get into purchases and plans. The biggest purchase that I have to share with you today is a sweater quantity worth of Bishi Bouche Les Petits Lambs wool. I got this from La Mercerie, and I'm going to be knitting up the 1988 cardigan by Hannah Kim with it. I'm so excited. It's going to be my next cast on for sure. I still need to swatch and everything and confirm that these are the final colors that I want to use, but I am feeling pretty good about it. I spent a few weeks kind of hemming and hawing over the color selection. I bought the pattern and played with the charts and like put colors in different spots. I took photos of all the skeins that I wanted to use, the colorways, and like put a black and white filter over them to make sure that I thought there was enough contrast between the colors. And I think I'm okay. And I think it will be good. I really love the colors, seeing them in person. I still need to swatch and make sure, but I'm feeling decent about it. So for my main color for this sweater, I went ahead and got, what is this? Dark gray brown, which is like it says, it's a dark gray brown. And I think that that will be nice. I needed something that was dark enough to have enough contrast for the colors. But yeah, I think that this is a really lovely fit. So I got enough skeins to make this my main color. And then my second color is medium gray beige. This is the contrast color that has the most usage. I am going to be adjusting the charts slightly so that it has less usage than the pattern states, but it's still going to be the most significant contrast color. So this is the highest contrast color combo that I have. I wanted to make sure these really stood out from each other. So that's number 2. The remaining 3, I don't remember what order they're in, so I'll just list them. This is soft gold. Just think that is really, really pretty. I was most nervous, I think, about this color just because pictures of it really changed how it looked. I like looked on Ravelry and on different websites and stuff, and I felt like it really changed how it looked depending on the picture. But in person, this actually feels a little bit more like a green to me, which I really like. So I'm quite happy with that. So those are the first 3. And then I also bought, let's see, soft blue green. A really like soft blue green. That's the perfect description of it. So that's number 4. And then the last one, I wanted to add some warmth, and I got red brown. This definitely has the least amount of contrast to the main color, but I think the way it's going to be used, I'm quite excited about it, and I think it will just add some really subtle warmth to it. So these are my 5 colors that I'm currently planning to use in the 1988 cardigan by Hannah Kim. Like I said, I still need to swatch, so stay tuned for that. I'm really, really excited. I might do that this weekend. We'll see. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with how these look just in person. I think that things will turn out well. There were no major surprises when I got them in person. Slight variations, but nothing major. So I think my planning will work out. We will see. While we were in Eugene getting the spinning wheel from Eugene Textile Center, we also stopped by the local yarn store called Cozy there. My sister wanted to visit that one specifically, and while we were in there, I went ahead and picked up a ball of Zauberball Crazy from Shoppelwool, which I really love using. I have a skein of this that I've knit a pair of socks in. That was so much fun, and I just kind of wanted a different colorway. So I found this one. This is color 1507, I think. Either that or 1153. I'm not sure. It's in German. Let's see. I don't know what those words mean, but maybe someone out there does and can tell me what is the color number and what is another number. But it's just a nice little like tealish blue and red combination that just has a lot of different movement happening in it. And I think it will make a really fun pair of socks. One of my goals for 2026 is to knit more pairs of socks for my wardrobe. So I think that these will be a really fun pair to make. Then a few other non-yarn purchases that I've made since we've talked last. First is the sweetest, most adorable little progress keepers from Soft Spoken. They're just so beautiful. They're really, really nice clay progress keepers in the shape of these quilt stars, blue and red, and then inverted blue and red. Oh, so pretty. I've been using these on my sweater projects. I just wanted to put them back on the little plate so that you could see how they came in the mail. So I went ahead and ordered them as a little Christmas present for myself. And they're so fun. They just add such a nice little detail to my works in progress. Definitely not a must, just a really cute little fun, nice to have. And then the last thing that I wanted to share with you is this book. It's called Vanishing Fleece, Adventures in American Wool by Clara Parks. There's a good chance that you have heard about this book before, but I just heard about it a few months ago and started reading it a couple days ago. and I am really, really enjoying it. If you haven't read this and are interested in learning more about wool manufacturing and milling in the United States, it's a really, really interesting read. So that is all that I have to share with you today. Thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you found a lot of joy in whatever you've been working on while we chatted. You can always come over and say hi to me on Instagram or Ravelry. My username is CaitCastsOn in both of those places. And if you haven't already, if you could take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.